I've heard the stories, but many do not believe in them. They say there's a girl who once possessed the spirit of a bear. Legend tells that she lived amongst them for many years and was accepted into their clan as one of their own. Her name was Elena, but to many, she became known as the Bear Whisperer. Some even say she could speak with them, understand their language. Over the years, some have claimed to have seen her riding atop a great bear through the snowlands, until one day, the sightings stopped. It is unknown where she went or why, but she has never been seen again until now.
Hey everyone, it's Area of Effect with another out-of-the-box build. This one's super unique. A 5-bear army, actually 3. 3 active bears, but you got to count your mount and your non-combat pet. They're cute. This build, I think, is a lot of fun. It's very powerful, has some burst, but also has a little bit of a support kind of element to it with some extra damage shields, some healing. But I'd say it's a hybrid between a support build and a DPS. I actually converted this from a solo build into a PvP build, and I'm going to probably release a follow-up solo build that has a couple of tweaks to this in the near future. But anyway, super fun build to play. So let's take a look at the stat screen now. We've got 33,000 max Magicka. Look at our recoveries, health recovery and Magicka recovery, over 4K spell damage. Our resistances are good. And we've also got a decent amount of health, almost 30K. It's like almost 29K. We're going with the Bewitched Sugar Skulls food. We're going with the Lover Mundus for more penetration. And we are a Breton. A Breton Warden. We want that extra recovery. Max Magicka. The Bretons have the cost reduction, as you'll see all the racial passives here. Extra Magicka recovery. And also the cost reductions to all the Magicka abilities by 7%. You could go with Dark Elf or High Elf if you wanted. Let's take a look at the gear now. The first 5-piece set is Archmaster's Right Staff. It belongs to the set Shroud of the Lich. Nirnhome with the Berserker Glyph. We get Magicka recovery, Max Magicka, Magicka recovery. When you cast an ability that costs resource, while under 33% Magicka and in combat, your Magicka recovery is increased by almost 1100 for 20 seconds. Has a 40-second cooldown before it can proc again, but it's there when you need it. This is how we're pushing over 3,000 Magicka recovery. We are utilizing a monster set on this one, and it's actually one that you wouldn't think would go with a Magicka Warden. It's typically a stamina monster set. It's Celine's. Well fitted. We got first trait is max stamina. Then when you deal martial melee damage, you call upon a primal spirit that deals almost 10,000 damage every 6 seconds, but it scales off your weapon or spell damage, which is why we're still getting a high tooltip, because we're scaling it off of our spell damage. Martial melee is not just any ability that is within melee range. It is now only poison, disease, bleed, or any kind of physical. So there are 2 different ways to proc this Celine's bear on this build. We are using one of them. It is Shielded Assault on the sword and board. You lunge in, you stun. And it's great because they're stunned and they're kind of sitting as like a sitting duck for the target. Another one is to morph the shocks into the poison shocks, and it will actually cause the bear to come out as well on command. However, if you go with the poison shocks, you lose the major breach you get from the Magicka shocks, so you need to put on like Ellie Drain or something like that. The next 5-piece set, Ursus. It's a heavy armor set, max health, healing taken, max health, a tank set. When you take damage while you are under 50% health, you summon Ursus's spirit. That's a blue bear. You or a group can activate a synergy on Ursus, which gives you and all the allies a damage shield over 16,000 damage. It's great because you can synergize with this yourself. As you see, I have Harmony. I transmuted one of the pieces of jewelry, it was healthy, into Harmony, so that way I get a bigger shield by 18%, as well as more resources back. Okay, moving on, we have Celine's Epaulets in pen in light. That's going to help us with some of our light armor passives. You see Waist and Gloves of the Lich. This is a light armor set, so if you're going to wear it, you'd want to put it on your belt and on your gloves. That way the heavy armor sets are your chest, your greaves, and your shoes. And we have the medium Celine's helmet. So we've got 3 heavy, 3 light, and 1 medium. So we are getting all 6% for the Undaunted passives. We are wearing Malakast Band of Brutality, increasing our damage by 16%. That's also going to increase the damage of Celine's bear. But it reduces your critical damage by 50%. So you can still deal crit hits, but they're not going to be bonus damage. And a Lich Ring with spell damage on it. So that is the setup. If you look, we have one piece of the trainee, which is going to be the sword opposite this shield. And ideally, it would be nice to have a piece of the trainee on your body so it doesn't toggle that max health on and off, and just have like a two-piece, sword and board or restoration. And I do have the restoration staff of Ursus for that two-piece to allow myself to wear, a sash of the trainee or gloves of the trainee and never have that health bonus toggle off. But then you lose the sword and board. You can't lunge in with Shielded Assault for that stun and Celine proc. So at that point, you'd have to proc Celines with the Poison Shulks, and then you're losing Major Breach with the Magicka Shulks, so you'd have to put on Elemental Drain. So just a little bit of a change up there, but it can be done either way, so no problem. And you look here, Deep Fissure, that is the one that is going to give them Major Breach, reducing spell and physical resistance by almost 6,000. When you morph it to the poison, it comes out twice. It deals poison damage. It procs Celines, but you lose that Major Breach. All right, let's move on now to the skills. First one, as always, if you watch my videos, is Crushing Shock. It always seems to be on my front bar. It's great to weave with light attacks or medium attacks or heavy attacks. But there I'm weaving light and heavy, or I'm sorry, light and crushing. So that is my single target go-to on pretty much most of my builds. The next skill, Unstable Wall of Frost. You want the morph to be unstable, so that way whenever it ends, it explodes for almost 9,000 damage. Shield enemies get immobilized, and you and your allies get another damage shield. This is now in addition to Ursus. So the cool thing about this is if you spam it, you can cause it to end early, resulting in just explosion after explosion after explosion like I'm doing here, and shield after shield after shield for you and your allies. Or you could just leave it on the ground and let it stay where it's at. So the next skill, Deep Fissure, we already covered that. It's almost 16,000 damage. The cool thing is it has a little bit of a delay, so you can line up other skills and abilities before it fires off. Like, for example, cast it, switch to sword and board, lunge in with Shielded Assault, knock the enemy down, proc Celines, and then Shocks fire off. The next skill, Fetcher Infection. This is going to attack the enemy with a damage over time, but it's also going to inflict them with minor vulnerability, increasing all of their damage taken by 8%, or I'm sorry, by 5%. It used to be 8% before a couple patches ago, but by 5%. So that's going to increase all the damage, including your procs, including Celine. If you cast it again, the next cast will deal an increased amount of damage, and you know that you're ready for that cast because of your arms. See the blue glow there? Which, by the way, you can just like leave this like this forever if you want to have like an effect on your body. Look, I casted it, and now the powerful ones have gone away. And you'll see that the damage over time each second has a more powerful tick. And now I went ahead and casted the Betty Netch and hit him with the Shulks for a Major Breach, so it would be even higher. So anyway, moving on to the next skill, Crystallized Slab. A shield is going to be casted around you for over 51,000 damage from up to 3 projectiles. When you get hit with the projectile, you restore Magicka and you deal over 8,000 frost damage back to the enemy with an Icy Bolt. This is awesome. I love this skill. The other morph will give you Major Heroism, but we pretty much sit at around 500 ultimate anyway. I don't often cast the bear ultimate. I mean, he's out, but I don't cast his ability typically, and that's because if you keep him at 500, there's a very powerful CP tree that gives you 30 health recovery per 10 ultimate you have, which allows us to have over 3,000 health recovery. I do cast him sometimes in a pickle, but it's almost like a freebie. You have him out, and you have 500 ultimate for that CP buff. Now, if I were to cast him, it would deal tremendous damage. Now, first, the numbers that you see are the damage he deals anyway, just while being out, kind of fighting passively. But the ultimate will deal over 16,000 magic damage, and actually 100% more, double that, if the enemy is below 25% health in execution, health range. So very powerful skill to have if you're trying to finish an annoying enemy. Other than that, I just hold on to the ultimate. Moving on to the next bar, I have him on both bars, by the way, because you have to have him on both bars or he unsummons. So I hate that, but that's just what it is. So the next bar, we have Nature's Embrace. it takes you immediately to an enemy with a vine, healing for almost 20,000 health over 10 seconds to you and the ally. Did I say enemy at first? I meant ally. Which, as you see now, you could do it to your bear as well. So if he's ending up fighting somebody else and you guys are split, it's kind of nice because you can get away from the enemy, get back to him, or get to the next enemy pretty quick. In between, shielded assault, which allows you to immediately target and teleport gap close an enemy. The vines help you target and gap close an ally. So no matter who's around, enemy or ally, you can get to them in a flash. I love the mobility. Next skill, Arctic Blast. My favorite skill probably on a Warden. It heals you up front with a big chunk of health. It heals you over time for 5 seconds. It damages enemies around you with ice. And if they get hit with 3 consecutive hits of that frost swirl, they are stunned for 3 seconds. Just a very powerful table turner skill. One of my favorites. Shielded Assault, we already talked about this. It'll deal physical damage up front, stuns the enemy for 3 seconds, procs Selenies, but also gives you a damage shield, over 5,000 point damage shield for 6 seconds, as you can see it right there. So another damage shield that just happens kind of as a result of what you're doing with your attacks. So Blue Betty restores Magicka, almost 5,000 over 25 seconds, and gives you Major Brutality, Major Sorcery, and also every 5 seconds removes a negative effect from you. Now, I like to spam Blue Betty, actually, because you can clear an effect, clear an effect, clear an effect, as well as get a heal, get a heal, get a heal, because there's a passive for Wardens that when one of them expires, you get a heal. And it's free. It costs nothing. So, Ice Fortress, this is our Major Resolve and Major Ward. Gives our allies Major Resolve and Major Ward if they don't have it, increasing physical and spell resistance by 6,000 for 24 seconds, and gives you Minor Protection, reducing your damage taken by 5% for 24 seconds. Alright, moving on to the CP distribution, everybody's favorite part of my videos. We'll start with green, even though I won't spend much time here. Green is more like a crafting tree, kind of behind the scenes, out of combat. There are a couple of things that I recommend every player get. Maybe the food buff that makes the food last longer. Reduce the fall damage by 7%. That'll happen in PvP when you're jumping off a wall or something, so that helps. Maybe slow down the decay of your weapon enchantments, but we're going to go to the blue tree. Master at Arms, increase your damage done with direct damage attacks by 10%. That's Selenies, that's your shocks, that's your wall explosion. A lot of direct damage on this build. Biting Aura, increase your damage done with area of effect attacks. That's shocks, that's your wall, that's your Arctic Blast, a lot of area of effect attacks. Riposte, I don't know how to say it, but when you block an attack within 7 meters, you deal over 6,000 physical damage back to the attacker every 5 seconds. I think this is a great reflection type perk to have. Untamed Aggression, increase your weapon and spell damage by 150 weapon and spell damage. I like to have this one on most of my builds. Comparatively, there's not a lot that I would replace that with. You know, you could go with Max Magicka or the Reaving Blows to heal off of your direct damage, 7%, but we didn't go with it on this one. Let's move to the red tree now. For the red, the ones I have slotted are Rejuvenation, 150 health, Magicka, and Stamina Recovery. I use this all the time. One of my favorites, Juggernaut. While under the control effects of crowd control immunity, 10% damage reduction. That's a lot in PvP. You're always breaking free from stuns or immobilization, so you get like basically major protection. Strategic Reserve, the one I was talking about, why we keep the bear at 500 health recovery. This is going to give us over 3,000 health recovery, well, combined with other perks. Bastion, this is a big one on this build. A lot of damage shields. This increases the effectiveness of your damage shields by 15%. That's Ursus. That's the Unstable Wall. That's Shielded Assault. That's your heavy attacks. That's your 3 ice slabs that reflect damage. So definitely a necessary one on this build, as well as dealing increased damage to shielded enemies. Well, that's going to wrap up this build video, the Bear Whisperer. If you like this video and you want to see more, head on over to my channel, check out my content. I've got plenty of more builds and also some other ESO related stuff on there, but builds of all types. Stamina, Magicka, tanking, healing, hybrids, damage dealers of all sorts, and I've got plenty more on the way. So like I said, check it out. If you like it, throw me a like, please subscribe, Feel free to share this video, share this build, and as always, have fun, be safe. Area of Effect, signing out.